Chris and Ryan going live. Best podcast, Beauty and the Beast. Sit back and catch a vibe. Oh yeah, we talking zombies and apocalypses and all those things you like. Going beast mode, and if you didn't know, it's Peter Z up on the mic. Hey, TWD family, grab the snacks about the pantry and subscribe and like if you can, please. Or those walkers eat you like some candy. Hey, okay. You at the right place at the right time. No one does it better, that's the bottom line. Beauty and the Beast, this is prime time. Let's go.
You know, I gotta be honest, I really appreciate that Peter added the little fade out at the end, because it makes it very easy for me to segue into us talking. Because if it just ended abruptly, then it would just be horrible trying not to get it to loop. Hi, everybody. What's going on?
Hello.
We're back. I apologize for our intermittent delay there. We were an impromptu sabbatical or impromptu vacation. But we are back and ready to talk about the Daryl Dixon season finale, as well as, well, Renee will be talking more about Fear the Walking Dead, because you all know my opinion. But Renee's trying to convince me to give it one more old college try, so who knows? Thank you, Pi. I appreciate that.
Oh, and Linda's here too.
Thank you. Lindy?
This is not an easy night for Linda to be here. I know that. Or morning or whatever it is for her. So
yeah, whatever midnight soiree this is for her. Yeah. Or 2 a.m., whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, it's very early, but we appreciate it very much.
We do.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Linda's probably got some strong opinions about the season finale.
I know. It's been fun to have your input as someone who lives in France. Right. It's very good to get the input. Yeah. So yeah, we appreciate her insight. And she said, no fear.
Linda, I agree, man. I agree. I'm all for it.
Well, we'll start talking about Daryl, and then we can just kind of do a little bit about fear at the end or something. That's fine with me, because the Daryl Dixon series was amazing.
Oh, it stole the show. I had a couple of grind my guts moments, but they were very minor. I will get into detail as we go on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I apologize to everybody that we weren't here the past couple weeks. I had some family stuff going on that I had to deal with. That really kind of just took the forefront in my life for a lot of different reasons. But the fact that you guys keep coming back, I sincerely appreciate that you guys just don't give up on us. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we always appreciate you guys, because we know we're kind of intermittent sometimes. So Linda said she didn't watch Fear either. So Ryan didn't either. He doesn't care to watch it.
We're in the anti-Fear the Walking Dead club.
Yeah, and Renee did it because she has to write about it. But I did enjoy, I will say, I've watched the first 2 episodes so far, because we get the screeners ahead of time, and I did enjoy it. And we'll talk about that more later. But
absolutely.
I was pleasantly surprised with those first 2 episodes. So
absolutely. So
I wasn't expecting a whole lot.
Fair. It's easier to enjoy something when you go in with no expectations.
Yeah.
When you expect it to suck, anything that doesn't suck kind of makes it like, it goes up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, elevates it a little.
We've talked about this before. They lost me with the nuclear radiation. I like that to me, like the fact that they basically went to every corner drugstore and found a gas, a nuclear suit and a gas mask and radiation detectors, and I'm just like,
well, I think Texas is just more prepared than the rest of us. Maybe I don't know.
I clearly, I would love to know, like per square foot, like how many nuclear power plants there are in Texas, because like I mean this has to be some kind of contingency plan, because I have a major nuclear power plant, an hour south of me. Right before New York City, like, and we don't I don't go in my closet and grab my nearest rad suit, like that's not a thing, I don't know. I'm going on a tangent. I apologize. It's my soapbox for Fear the Walking Dead, but that's where they lost me.
Yeah, we'll talk about pleasant things. Daryl Dixon.
Absolutely, that was.
So overall, overall, what did you think? So just like a blanket statement.
I said it to you in the pre-show, and I still mean it. It out of every spinoff, and that includes Fear. My favorite season finale of a show I definitely think that Walking Dead had a couple more that were more impressionable and kind of stuck with me a little bit more. Just for example, like Negan,
Yeah.
like that was the big one,
Yeah.
in season 6, right, where he walks out of the trailer. I mean, that was like, like on the edge of your seat, like like the ultimate cliffhanger. Like that was like, holy shit, like this is the big
Yeah.
bad. But Daryl Dixon came very close to that.
Yeah.
So I would say probably number 2 season finale for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Renee?
Oh no, I loved it. And I went into it, Daryl's my favorite, everyone knows that, but I was just like, man, I'm just not sure how this is going to work and how things are going to happen, but I was pleasantly surprised. I absolutely loved it. My husband, who pretty much watches everything just because I watch it all the time, kind of, I mean, like, he likes it, but it's not like his favorite walking, overall or whatever, but he even said he loved the series. And, so I was glad that he did,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just, yeah, they just did it. And I think, I listened to an interview with Norman Reedus on Scott Lips has a podcast called Lip Service. And they've been good friends for years and things. So it was a nice, very casual, I don't know, it was one of the more candid interviews I've ever heard with Norman Reedus. I really enjoyed it. So if you have time, it's on his podcast called Lips Service, LIPPS. Yeah, and it was really, really good because Norman was very relaxed, and I don't know, it was just more of a conversation between friends kind of thing. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. But he was saying how when they first asked him to do this in France, he was like, "F yeah, let's do this," and he was excited. But he did request all new writers because he wanted things to be fresh for Daryl. He didn't want it to be the stale old Daryl story, and so. I think that's, phenomenal because I think that is what made that. Plus, he is an executive producer. Like I've said this probably every episode of our podcast. I think that's why these spinoffs are going to be over and above because you had Lauren Conan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan as executive producers on that, and then Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrero will be on the this what the heck is it? What is their stupid series called? The Ones Who Live. Oh my gosh, my brain.
Oh yeah, The Ones Who Live. Yep. Okay. I was like, where are you going with this? I'm like, okay, I got you
sorry.
now.
Their series, yes, they are executive producers as well. So I think it just gives, they've just known these characters, they've played these characters for so long, and so they have that, just that extra say in how things go and whatever. So anyway, yeah, I loved the series. I thought it was great. And I loved the ending because I was like, what are they going to do? I kept thinking that the ending was going to have something to do with Isabel. I really did. I thought there'd be some kind of big cliffhanger with her I just,
So I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but you open Pandora's box and I'm going to say it. I get why they did it, but at the same time, I don't get why they did it. So one of the first things, if not the first thing we hear in Daryl Dixon is Judith saying that even you deserve your happy ending or whatever the hell she said. And they wanted somebody that Daryl could really truly connect to on kind of an intimate level. And that seemed to be Isabella. But here's the thing, right? One, you don't have to ship every character. Like not every character is going, especially nowadays, is going to fall into that platonic, not platonic, that like stereotypical, like male female relationship, and like they have to fall in love, and it has to be this epic romance. You don't have to have that to make a show good, and they've done a very good job so far of avoiding that. Like, even though people are shipping Carol, you know what I mean, with a YL, but it's more of like a brother-sister relationship. And it always has been. And then Daryl and Leah, like, same thing. Like, you don't have to put them together. But here's the thing. If you as the writers are going to tease at something like this, and I'm sorry, but when he was scrubbing her back, that was a little intimate. She was wearing a little something, something. You know what I mean? And it was just very flirtatious, very intimate. If you're going to do it, full send it. Either commit to it or don't. Because it makes you look indecisive, in my opinion. and Daryl's having all these feelings, and he's suddenly just gonna walk away without her.
Yeah, I thought that was odd.
Like me, who I actually enjoy writing as a creative outlet, I would have had him ask her to come with him and
Yeah.
bring Laurent.
Hmm.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Laurent would have fit in well with the kids of the Commonwealth, like
Yeah.
Judith and RJ and stuff. Like, he would have fit in well, and he would have been safe with
Hmm.
Daryl and Isabella essentially adopting him.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. They teased it, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, I just we'll see what happens. I just don't know why. Yeah, and especially with Daryl, I don't know why everyone always wants to ship him with someone. It's like,
Yep.
Like Pi said, he lived a life of celibacy until, his romp in the woods, and then he's returned to his chaste ways. He's just not a creature of passion. And that is absolutely the truth. He's just, he loves deeply,
Yep.
but it's not always a romantic love like everybody wants him
Yeah.
to be. And I know, like, even like, and the same with Connie, and there was a little flirtation, then they let it go. It's like, well, why do they keep doing that? Obviously when they did put him in a whatever with Leah, that was horrible. So, you know what I mean? It was just, it was just, so anyway, we'll see what happens in season 2. And I don't know. I've read several articles where they said there could be some, they always say could be, they never, no one ever commits to it. So who knows, but it'll be interesting to see where that goes, and it'll be, where does he go from here? Like, literally, obviously he's going to Laurent. He's not going out to that ship, he had that choice, and we know where he's going.
Well, look at the ending, right? So Carol, has that whole interaction with that guy who was on his dirt bike. And she then drives past a sign that says, what, Freeport, Maine?
Yeah, that's where Daryl was.
So that's where he was. Did Daryl return there somehow?
I don't think so. I think we're going to see a lot.
I don't either.
I think we're going to see a lot of Carol's story in the United States.
You think that's going to be season 2?
I'm worried that there's going to be a lot of Carol in the United States, and not like, as I read things, nowhere does it says they actually reunite. It just says Carol's in season 2. So I'm like, the fandom is going to be very upset if those two don't come back together. But that ship that he was on, it took them 3 years in France to get that thing ready to come to the United States, because for whatever reason they needed those walkers, not the walkers in France. So, I'm sure we'll learn why, but what, so I don't know. And Linda asked why they changed the title. I think they're just, because it says The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, it's his series, but now it's going to be a book, it's going to put some of Carol's story in there. So it's kind of like, tying to this. And like I said, we'll see what happens, but I think we're going to see a lot of her in the United States looking for him. But I don't know, because it's not like these ships are easy to get across.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they made it seem like this big ordeal that took years.
Right, it was 3 years to get that boat seaworthy, So I wonder if we're just going to see a lot of her searching for him in season 2, which is going to tick people off.
It's going to be boring.
So we'll see. I don't, but I think they'll keep the Daryl part going, like, because all those people, everybody, the guy who played Cadron, the guy that played Fayu, they're all recast for season 2. So we're going to see something in France, but I feel like we're going to see 2 separate stories. I feel like we're going to see a lot of Carol in the United States searching for Daryl, and then Daryl doing his thing in France. So that's my opinion. I just feel like that's what we're going to see, at least for part of season 2. So I don't know where it'll go from there, but that's just, the impression just from things I've read and different stuff. So, so maybe they won't even reunite in this coming season. I don't know, because they'll probably have several seasons, especially with as well as it did.
I'm just worried that they're going to reunite them for fan service, and I think that's
I hate that.
I think that's going to do such a disservice on the show. I mean, you had that moment seeing Carol that you're like, but like, that's all it needed to be. It didn't have, I didn't want half a season of them reuniting it. That would have taken away from the story that was building with Daryl. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I
I like Carol. I have nothing. She's awesome.
Oh yeah,
She's,
no, I love Melissa
I
McBride.
mean,
I think she's a phenomenal
yeah.
actress.
Oh, she's done so
Phenomenal.
well with that character. We look back at season 1 and see her, the poor thing. She was this abused, beat down wife, and then look at her now. She's a warrior. She's a leader. She's phenomenal. I would love to see a Carol series. Let's show us what Carol's doing. How is she leading the Commonwealth? How is she? Show us. I would watch that all day long. But it's just going to be interesting to see how they meld this together and what it's going to be. And I feel like, I think we'll all be surprised, because I think many people were with what they did with the first season. I think it wasn't what people expected, I mean,
and that was a good thing.
Absolutely. It was just, everything was kind of a surprise. And, Norman was talking about the work ethic of the French people and how they are, and it was very, like I said, listen to that podcast, because it was really, really good. Yeah. And he talked about their work ethic and how they do things. He was like, they'll do a scene. He goes, and then they would all, stop. Okay, scene's done, whatever. Then they would roll their own cigarettes, smoke their cigarettes, and talk about what happened and how things,
and that was nuances that made it into the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because you saw Madame, whatever the hell her name is, and she was like rolling her own cigarettes.
And,
and like that, and that's things that are very French, and that's not like a stereotype. It's just like Americans don't traditionally roll their own cigarettes; like they buy them. and it's like, it's just cool that they introduce aspects of that into the show.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you touched on a great point, Renee, and I know you've touched on this, with Dead City and Daryl Dixon, about the actual actors and actresses being the directors and the producers.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I talk about this all the time, one of my favorite shows is Law & Order SVU. And if you go back and watch the episodes that Mariska Hargitay actually directed the episodes, they are some of the best episodes that show has ever seen in its 23 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very specific reason. Same with the Walking Dead shows, because the characters, the actors, can sit there and say, "That's that." Yeah. I'm sorry, like no offense to the writers, but Daryl would never say that. Daryl would never do that. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna listen to them. They're gonna be like, let's look at that. I think you're right. Hold on, let's take a look. And they take a step back, and it filters out some of the things that don't feel natural for the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're seeing that. And I think they realize it.
Yeah. And I think another thing I love about the Daryl Dixon series, I love how different Isabel and Daryl are, but at the same time, they're very similar. They've got, traumatic backgrounds. They have people who before the outbreak and everything, before that, they had these people, he had Merle, she had Quinn, dragging them down, forcing them to be people that they're not. And they are two people who are fortunate where the apocalypse allowed them to become the people that they're supposed to be. And I think that's, very interesting with them. So it'll be,
absolutely.
It'll be interesting to see what transpires next. But I just loved their, I just loved everything that they did in this season and how they, planned things out. And we still don't know a lot, like the whole Laurent thing. We still don't understand what that's all about. I thought the nest, that was really cool, because that was completely not what I expected it to be.
Absolutely.
I expected it to be, I don't know exactly what I expected, but it was very, very different. So I really enjoyed the people that we met there and, all of that. But I thought, I guess so let's start at the beginning of the episode where we open up with Daryl in the arena, doing his gladiator thing with these variant walkers or super walkers or whatever they're called.
Yep.
And it was, that was really cool to watch him.
That blew my mind. That was spectacular.
And then when they brought Quinn in, the first thing that popped in my mind was Merle and Daryl in the governor's arena.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, not that it was even it wasn't the same type of thing, but it was just like, that's my brain, kind of thought of that. But I just loved because, him and Quinn were like, we're going to have to kill each other, Then they were like, oh shoot, we got to get along and we got to get out of this together. And so I thought that was really cool twist, because you expected the two of them to have to go at it, what I mean? And so Yeah, because I mean, if one of them gets killed, man, you're dragging him,
Yeah, I mean that whole
together.
scene gave me very Gladiator vibes, like Russell
Yeah.
Crowe, like even when Daryl held up the walker's head, and it reminded me of just Russell Crowe walking around the arena, just doing this. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's what it reminded me of, and I loved it. I loved it,
Yes.
especially when the one walker attacked the other one.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh shit. And even Daryl and what's his name? I forgot his name. Quinn. Even they kind of went like, oh shit, And I mean, it was cool because each walker was so different.
Yeah.
I
How
mean,
they reacted, yeah.
everything. Even the first one Daryl faced, and he stabs it with like that weird axe looking thing.
Yeah.
And the walker just fell, and he went through it, and he just kept going. And I was like, damn, like these are some beefed up zombies, and I love it. I'm here for it,
Yeah. I loved at the end then when Daryl threw the head up at Janae.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was very interesting. So at one point when Daryl was in there by himself, Isabel kept praying, and Laurent was like, "Don't worry, he doesn't die." He wasn't the least bit concerned about Daryl. He was like, "Daryl doesn't die, right? This, whatever." But when they brought Quinn in, then Laurent started praying, like he didn't know what was going to happen. So I thought that was really interesting because he's been very insightful through this whole thing, and he kind of sees things before they happen or whatever, know. And so I thought that was really interesting that he reassured her, and then but anyway, that was I just love that whole thing. That was really
so good.
Yeah, they just did a very, very good job with that, and all of that. And then they escape, and that's when they realize that he's bit, and it was, I guess I didn't expect him to sacrifice himself. I mean, who would just say, okay, chop my hand off,
Yeah, exactly.
And so I thought that was really, because to me Quinn has been an enigma through this whole thing, because I even in the beginning, like when we saw him in the flashback and he had that gun, I mentioned that when we went over that episode, it's and guns in France are very different than they are in the United States. We have concealed carry, we have open carry, we have lots of, what I mean? Like there's a lot of guns, but in France it's a little different. And to see him with that gun on his purse, like, okay, well, did he get, I don't know that he obtained that legally, so he just always seemed like an enigma to me, because he seemed to really care for Isabel, but he was so crappy about it. Then later we find out that he lets Lily, like that's his baby, and he's willing to just leave her wherever, but he knows that's his baby when he finds out she's pregnant, when she tells Isabel she's pregnant. And it's like he, so this whole time I'm just trying to figure him out. So I was really surprised when he said, okay, go ahead, take my hand off. I mean, he's bit.
I was very surprised by that.
Yeah. So, I thought it was good, like he tried to redeem himself in the end kind of thing, and whatever, but
it did break my heart as much as he pissed me off as a character. It broke my heart when he was like, please tell Isabel I tried to do the right thing. Like, like that was like, I was like, oh, so maybe like you said, he was trying to do the right thing, but he was so crappy at how he went about it.
Yeah, because I do think he cared for her, but it was almost an obsession kind of thing, like, if I can't have her, no one can kind of thing, or whatever. But at the same time, when he did that, kind of made you think, so it's anyway. And then I was just reading, Pi said something about the American showrunners. What?
With the weaponry?
Yeah, but that wasn't the case. So the weaponry, the reason that they had a lot of old weaponry is because the previous priest collected it. So that was why there were so many antiquated looking guns and things. It wasn't because it's not American showrunners. French people wrote this. This was not an American series. This was very heavily, I mean, I think the showrunner was American, but the writers and things like that were all French. But the reason for the antiquated, weaponry and things like that was because that priest in the original Abbey where we met Isabel and Laurent, he collected old pieces, and that's why they had all those, and that's what they practiced with. Then when the outbreak came, he collected it ahead of the outbreak, and then when they're like, oh crap, now we got to start defending ourselves, that he had just had a whole arsenal of that stuff. So that's the only reason that the weaponry was older with that kind of stuff. But anyway, that, just to kind of give an insight to that part of it. But so then Daryl, Quinn, so he cuts his hand off so Daryl can get, go help them and things. And then they start to travel to the nest, which who gave him the pocket watch? Was that first guy on the boat?
Yes.
Okay. Was that Aslan maybe, or something like that? So yeah, he gave him that with the picture of I'll butcher the name of it, like the Mont Saint Michel or something of that giant castle thing in the middle of the nowhere, kind of thing. So they at least knew what they were looking for and where to go. So then they kind of get out on the road and they do that, and Sylvie goes with them, leaving her new boy that she liked and all that. And that's when so the truck breaks down, and then her and Daryl have a very interesting conversation about like his because he had said something in the previous episode about fighting a war or fighting for something that you didn't. It was a very kind of weird thing. Not weird, but just the way he said it. It was like, okay, what's this leading to? We're going to hear more about this. And that's when we learned that his grandfather was killed in World War II, So that was very interesting how that all, tied together. And I loved how they put that little piece of history in.
It was very cool to see that.
Yeah, well, we've always heard, like we knew about Merle, we knew about their dad, we knew about their mom, and that's really all we knew about Daryl's family, And so to have Daryl see that, he was very bitter that his grandfather enlisted and left his pregnant grandmother alone. He went and then he died. So then she raises his dad alone. And, so that's just kind of, he feels like it's dads just don't stick around in his family and take care of their children. So it was very interesting. And I just like they put that in there,
Right, and that's why when Isabel was like, "You're just gonna leave him like your dad left you," I was like, "Oh, we're pulling that
I didn't
card.
like that because that's not even the same. He's not his dad.
But that's not fair. That's not fair expectation. Like,
I mean, I thought that was pretty low of her. But anyway, so they have that whole big conversation again where Daryl just opens up to her. They just both of them open up to each other. I think. Just because they know they have this commonality with their past, they just have all this trauma from their past and they can kind of relate to each other.
Yep. So
I think that's, I just think that's a very cool, piece to their relationship.
Absolutely.
And then that's when Cadron and the soldiers come. And I was shocked that he let them go and told them to burn the truck and told that so Mike, I'm going to ask you this because I was on another podcast and I asked the host there the same thing. So do you believe that he just did it because he was a child, or do you believe that, Laurent looks at people, he doesn't the kid is an amazing actor because he can act with his eyes. He doesn't even need to say a word. But do you think Cadron saw, he knows, he's been watching, Janae fight this kid and oh, he's not special. There's nothing, whatever. So do you think he just didn't shoot him because he was a child, or you think that he saw something that everybody else is seeing in him?
So I think that Laurent is supernaturally intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when he said, God still loves you, I think that he said the one thing that he knew that he needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think that, what's the guy's name? I feel I'm terrible with names. The
Cadron?
guy that Cadron?
With a C, yes.
Cadron? Okay. So Cadron, I think that he felt that all of the bad things that he's done in his life have made him irredeemable to God.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody who has so much spirituality surrounding him to say that God still loves you, God forgives you, I think that was the one thing that he needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
To make himself feel like I have to prove that I am redeemable. And that's what he did. And that was my take on it, and I think that's why he ended up doing it. But I have to say, it was jaw dropping. I did not expect it. I was like, how the fuck are they gonna get out of this? I'm like, Isabella's dead. The kid, you know, the other woman is dead. Like, you know, Laurent's gonna be kidnapped. Like, you know, we're fucked.
Yeah.
But then that happened. I said that. I was like.
Yeah, I was very shocked at that, and then Daddy told him to burn the truck as well and all that.
Yeah.
But I forgot, we skipped over. That was my fault. I totally skipped over Laurent having to kill Quinn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like so because what reminded me is because you said that Laurent told him what he needed to hear was what Daryl did. Daryl's behind those bars. He can't help either one of them. And he knows that Laurent isn't wrestling with the fact that this man was his father biologically. Yep. He isn't wrestling with this. He is worried. He is honestly worried. Oh, if I kill this person, God's not going to forgive me. And Daryl knew that that's what his struggle was. You know, he knew that was what he was struggling with. And so he tells him, God will forgive you for this. Because, protecting Isabel, So, I think that was really, I thought that was really cool. But it kind of the same thing where Daryl told him what he needed to hear. And then, he passed that on then to Gudrun. So I thought that was
well acted.
Yeah. Yes.
Like by Norman, by Laurent's actor, like that was just crazy good.
I can't say his name. I'm just not going to try to butcher these French names because I will, but the guy who plays Laurent I think this might be his first, I feel at one time they said newcomer, like this is his first real role. He is very, very good at this role. You just the looks that, like I said, he doesn't even have to say a word and what's going on, so he's, and then, like you said, like his intuitiveness or super, whatever that is, it's amazing because even with Janae, he told her that's not, he said, it's because your heart is broken or something of that nature. And she did not like that because, it hit home. It was true, and she got very angry.
I mean, even in episode 1, when he sat down next to Daryl with the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
And he was like, even you deserve happiness or whatever the hell it was. And he was just kind of
like verbatim what Judith said.
Yeah, and he was like, what the fuck? Like, how could you have known that? You know what I mean? Like, that's such a weird thing to say. Like,
yeah. So it was just, anyway, that was really, really good. So why do you think Cadron goes back to Janae then? Because he goes back and, after, I mean, like, the guys were all dead. The soldiers are dead, right? I think they all died. And it was just him, maybe, I think. And so, or whatever, but why would he,
I think he had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, where else could he have gone that he would have survived?
Yeah, I don't know. So I thought it was very interesting that he went back. So I couldn't tell if that was more of him doing it to kind of buy them some time kind of thing. Like, I'll keep her attention on me because she's going to be angry and she's going to reprimand me, for what I've done. And, So anyway, I thought that was, I just was very shocked by that. So I'm interested to see what will happen with him because, she's not happy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And and you could tell the entire time that, she was seeing through his bullshit. Like from the minute she was asking questions, it was like, it was like the saying, I don't ask questions I don't already know the answer to. And like, she suspected him from the beginning. Like, she knew that he was full of shit. And it's like, your entire unit is dead, but here you come back, not injured, no scratches on you, nothing. And it just, to me, it was just very weird. I don't know, like, it was a good weird, I should say. Yeah. Because it was like, like, how is she that intuitive? But she's good at what she does. I mean, she's in a position for a reason.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with him next, because and then they get to the nest finally after we've heard about this the whole season, and then which was completely different than what I thought. Again, like I said, I don't know what I expected, but this is not it, and because this is built, like, the village is down here, and then as you go up the castle, like, that's how it's built. And it's also built on a tidal oh gosh, what's it called? Tidal plane or something like that. So water does come up to it at sometimes.
Okay.
So you can't get. So I think Linda said she's been there when she was younger, maybe.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because I was like, I told my husband, I'm like, I want to go see that now because that looks really neat. And yeah, so it's very interesting, a very those big walls and things. It's a perfect spot to, have, because you can see what's coming. You can see, and I guess there's quicksand around there also, which I thought was interesting. So cool. I thought, wow, what another reinforcement. People, if they got in that quicksand area, they're not getting to you, So yeah, I thought it was really interesting spot to which we've always said, an island is the best spot in an apocalypse, get out on an island. So
it was interesting to me though that Cordon knew the nest and knew where it was, which makes me under the assumption that a lot of French people in that region know what it is and where it is. Mm-hmm. But Janae didn't.
Yeah, well, I wondered if he just knew when he looked at the picture, like because he had that, Laurent had the watch and he looked at it, like I guess I kind of assumed that that's when he realized, that's
no, I get that, but then if that building in that area is known as the Nest to a lot of people in that region, how did she not know? Like when she goes, "Where is the nest?" How did she not know? You know what I mean? Like. Well,
maybe she just knows there's a community there, but didn't realize that's what. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know
because it's kind of like if you go to I'll use my experiences. If you go to anybody in my area, and you say, "Where is the Statue of Liberty?" They're gonna say that it's in New York City. That's like south of us. You know what I mean? Like, and so they'll have a rough idea of where it is.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously a landmark. That's my thing. You know what I mean? It's huge. It's kind of like this like really cool like Victorian castle looking thing, and she didn't know where it was. To me, that was the only thing I found a little bizarre.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Linda, you don't like the scene where Daryl threw the zombie head? I loved it. I thought it was great.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
It almost reminded me of the final season of Walking Dead when what was Sebastian's mother's name?
Pamela,
when she was like kind of like standing over everybody and they got in the firefight. That's almost what it reminded me of, the way she was standing over top of them and then he threw the zombie head. It was like this like act of disrespect, and that reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That I thought that was outstanding. And Pi said, "Let's all go there next summer." So I'm assuming she means to the.
It's a reason for me to go to France. I'm in. In. I just got to find out how to pay for it, but I'm there.
And then Pi said, "We're not going to make jokes about Daryl giving head." Okay, Ella.
Okay, all right.
We were waiting for you, Pi. We were waiting for you to bring it up.
Right.
So so they get him at the nest, and then Isabel, like she just keeps trying to make Daryl feel guilty. But the whole time, Daryl's like, "I've never told you I was staying. I have told you the whole time I'm getting home." And now we know, because we saw, and well, I guess you didn't see because you missed an episode, but in episode 5, we saw Carol. Well, we didn't see, we heard Carol over the radio, and she tells him, so I don't know if you know this or not, but he contacted her when he was in Maine. He was able to contact her via radio. Yep. So when he did that, he can hear the distress in her voice. And he's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, they know each other. He's like, they're, that kind of thing. Yeah. So she starts to tell him that someone or something has returned, but it's all breaking up, because she's like, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's all this like whatever noise returned is all you hear. Like, you don't hear what returned, who returned. And of course, so everyone's speculating what the heck, because I'm thinking a person, like, who would return that she would be worried about telling Daryl. I'm thinking everybody's dead. All the bad guys are dead.
My thought process is CRM.
What?
My thought process would be the CRM.
But they wouldn't return. They've never been there. You know what I mean? It's not like they would return. She said multiple return. So one person, somebody, maybe it was Relishing the Dead, that said that it was that maybe Ezekiel's cancer returned, which I thought was interesting.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I spelled her name wrong.
Love you very.
Yeah, love you very much, Betty. She'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so somebody said that, but then I wondered, like, I know you don't know what's going on in Fear, but what if Dwight had returned? Because Daryl told him never to return. He let him go because Sherry got him out of jail and this and that. And, I mean, it's kind of a long shot, but at the same time, they do, because in Fear of the Walking Dead, we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But Sherry and him do return to the sanctuary, and they return to their house. So in this season, so I thought, it could be Dwight, but again, might be a stretch. But yeah, and
so why would she feel the need to tell Daryl that Dwight returned? Because
Daryl would have told her what happened.
True. Yeah.
He would have said, I let him go, but I told him he better never come back, because Daryl has no love for Dwight. It was because Sherry helped him get out of prison. That's the only reason he let Dwight go.
I'm just trying to think about it, because Dwight has that relationship with Negan. As far as we know, Negan's still alive, but he's in New York City. But again, we don't know the timetable on that, right? I mean, how is Dead City lining up?
I don't think. Yeah, but I don't think no, Dead City is like 5 to 7 years ahead.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
The end of the Walking Dead, and this hasn't been very long. Well, it's
been 3 years.
We don't know for sure.
We're assuming.
What's 3 years?
Right, because it took them three years to build the ship.
Well, but that doesn't mean that was in their timeline, though.
That's a good point, because they could have been building it before. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really possibly. So Linda said Pamela, and I don't know if she meant Pamela returned. Pamela's in jail. Yeah, they've put her in jail. I'd be surprised if she's still alive at this point. But maybe, but I just. Yeah. So anyways, I just kept trying to, rack my brain to think who would be such a threat that she would be distressed, because her voice sounded like you could tell she says something like, you don't always have to save me, or you don't have to protect me. I don't know. I can't remember now what Carol says to Daryl first. And he's like, there's something wrong, and then is
there any bad guys that have gotten away?
No, I mean, Negan, but Negan there's no, even if he, okay, hypothetically, let's just say it was Negan, that wouldn't cause her, she wouldn't hesitate to tell her, oh, by the way, Negan came back. It wouldn't be this distressing, like to me, it was like they made an emphasis on it. It's something important. So, but my whole point to mentioning all that was the fact that now we understand why Daryl's so urgently trying to get back to her, to the Commonwealth.
We're assuming that the person that she's warning him about is bad, right?
Just because she's so distressed in her voice. You'll have to watch the episode.
Yeah, I'll have to read. Too long, didn't read. I accidentally skipped episode 5. Don't know how I did it. I did, but I had a lot going on in that week, so I apparently forgot. No, my thought process was maybe it's Rick, but why would that make her distressed?
Yeah, because that's what Linda said was, and even Morgan. Linda mentioned Morgan. That wouldn't distress. There'd be no reason. Dwight, to me, Dwight makes sense because, Daryl warned him. And
he's the closest thing to a bad guy that got away.
Exactly. Like if they're, right. Because everybody else is dead. But so, but this whole time, we've thought that Daryl, besides the fact that he just wants to go home where he lives, it's always been this urgency behind it. It's like he just seemed very adamant and very like, okay, I got to do this. Because he even says I made a promise, and he told, the reason that Carol goes looking for him in that last episode, that last scene, is because he told her, I'll be back in a week. On the radio, he goes, well, I'm in Maine right now. I'm on the coast of Maine. I'm in Maine on the coast or something like that. He said, I'll be back in a week. And darn well, if Daryl didn't show up in a week, Carol's looking for him. Yeah. So that's what kind of perpetuated all this. So, I feel like that's where his urgency to return home was, because he knows something's distressing Carol, something or someone has returned, So
do you think that those people in Maine that this guy said he got the dirt bike from, do you think those are the people that kidnapped Daryl?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
put him on that ship.
Yep. Because he would have left his bike there, because he brought it there because they were getting the gas, and he's like, oh yeah, come with me, we'll get you a job and you can get your fuel.
Do you think it's the CRM? Because my opinion was that the CRM was connected to the people on the ship.
Yeah, I feel like they are because of the testing, but then that doesn't make these guys just don't seem like CRM, but I suppose they could hire them to round up the walkers for the testing. So yeah, that I feel like the CRM is involved somewhere in that.
Yeah.
So
What the question is, how involved are they? And
right.
I feel like
And
for such a menacing organization, they're underutilizing the CRM.
mm-hmm.
I mean, they utilized them
They're
obviously in World Beyond, and they're going to be utilizing them in the Rick and Michonne series. But like, you know, I just feel like that they're just kind of like the shadow organization that we just don't see. And I don't know. They're a paramilitary organization. Why are they not out and about
and they're
doing
huge.
things? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Well, that's like that was one thing too with the variants that we saw at the end of The Walking Dead. Everybody, like Angela Kang said, well, that was just that was just a throwback to those Frank Darabont's original walkers. You know, that's all that was. Why wouldn't you say that was some of the tested CRM walkers that they let go and they let them out into the wild? You know what I mean? Like that would have way better explained it than what they said. You know, because they never gave a reason. I mean, because we all know the reason why the first season and into the second is because it was Frank. That was what Frank Darabont wanted to do when they fired him. Glenn, I don't know what his last name is. He decided to go with the slow, dumb walkers that Kirkman had in the comic.
Yep.
And so that's why there was that drastic change. Because I said that one day I did say that. I said, okay, so then those smart ones that we saw were actually the walkers. Then the ones that Glenn guy, those are actually the variants. So the ones we've seen the whole time are actually the variants because they're different than what we initially saw.
100%.
So to make things really confusing, but I don't. Yeah, but why in the end of The Walking Dead, we know they're doing this stuff. We know that the CRM is going to have all this involvement in things. Why not say, oh yeah, somehow explain that those variants that we saw in season 11 all of a sudden were, something with that testing that the CRM has been doing for years.
Yep.
So I just thought, like you said, they're huge. It's a huge organization. Like I think it's over 200,000 people. It's something crazy like that.
That's huge.
And in an apocalypse, that's a lot of people. I mean,
to have that kind of organization amongst people of that magnitude, that's insane.
And then Pi said too, that it was stupid to ship the walkers across the oceans. And I said that earlier. I was like, because the French ones weren't good enough. I don't know, what the deal that was. Yeah. So I don't know. Unless the only thing I can think of is that because there is a lot of variants in France, they needed pure walkers that weren't.
They needed like a control walker. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't know that. Total speculation here, but this and Linda says the CRM too, but I think those guys themselves weren't CRM, but maybe working for, because they weren't, CRM, they're always in their military uniforms and all that sort of.
I think the people in the boat may have been from like a parallel organization that's like located in France or, somewhere similar. And they just have connections with CRM that like they have an alliance, like, hey, we'll work together. Like we'll share ideas, we'll share research and shit like that. And I think that's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, because there were some of those French scientists who were stuck in because they talk about that in World Beyond when they were in Toledo, Ohio, and there were some of their scientists there. So they, were stuck here. After that point, they weren't getting back there, very easily anyway. So, it's kind of strange.
It is very much so.
But that kind of explains why, Daryl has had this urgency to get back home. Yep. Now, you'll have to watch the 5th episode and you'll get all caught up. But
I'll watch it tonight.
So but that so back to the nest then Isabel's trying to make Daryl feel guilty. She's saying those the snide comments like you mentioned about doing the same thing that your dad did to you kind of thing. And it's just I don't know why she's surprised that he's leaving then when they give him the option and they say, hey, you got to leave by morning because your boat's going to be there, and she was upset and this and that.
Do you think she's gonna follow him and Laurent?
I think they'll go back to the nest.
You think so? Because I don't know. But again, The Walking Dead is so confusing with timetables. So it's hard to tell how long ago Daryl left the nest. And
I think it was just like a 2-day thing.
Okay, fair enough. But
I think he tells him I think he says the boat will be there in 2 days, and then Daryl says, when do I need to leave? He said by tomorrow morning. Okay. So I feel like I and we'll have to rewatch it to confirm that. But I felt like that's what so just he hasn't been gone long anyway.
That makes sense. So, but you're telling me that Isabella didn't notice that Laurent was missing when he followed Daryl?
yeah, I mean, yeah. So she, yeah, very well could follow, and then who know? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I don't know. I mean, like Laurent doesn't want to be this special person. He doesn't, he just wants to be a normal kid.
Yep.
And Daryl's understanding of that. Nobody else is. Everybody else wants him to be this thing that they want him to be.
Correct.
And Daryl's like, I understand, you're a kid. And he hears Daryl say these things, he's to Isabella, he said, just let him be a kid, and that sort of thing. So he probably just is like, I'm going with him because he's going to let me be a normal person and not expect all this out of me or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if she followed or, it's a big place, so they would have had to maybe they searched and they couldn't. So yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of speculation there going into the second season. But I loved when Daryl got to go to the cemetery. I thought that was
right there, right in my heart.
To see that tattered American flag, and of course that had to make him, his heartstrings pull for home, and then he searches and finds his grandfather's grave, and it was just it was really interesting, and just maybe like kind of odd to put it in, but at the same time, he's in France, why wouldn't they do this story, you know what I mean? And so I thought it was really cool.
No, absolutely. And I think it was a cool way of showing that what happened in World War II was not that long ago.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at this point, it was 79 years. It happened in 44, so it happened 79 years ago. You know what I mean? That seems like a long time, but it's not. And it was cool. It was cool that they had that little historical nod to it because we don't see stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, because generational, you're seeing it's just two. Daryl, his dad, his grandpa. It's not that far. Yeah. Yeah. So it really, it is an interesting thing of it. Somebody said something, and I was trying to reread it and see. But now I lost it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree, Linda. I think that Janae is trying to use the variants as like biological warfare. I 100% think that. I think that's exactly why they're experimenting with all these different. That's why we're seeing all these different variants in the pit where they're fighting is because this is what they're working on. And I've said for a long time, and I think Renee agrees with this, that the variants are more than likely coming from experimentation of walkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that you have walkers that could climb walls. You have walkers that have acidic blood, acidic saliva. You have walkers that, are attacking other walkers. I mean, that's insane. That is wild to me. You have walkers that are basically invincible. I mean, they're like friggin' what the clickers like in like Last of Us, where like it's almost impossible to kill them. You know what I mean? Like that, like shit like that. Like I think that's exactly what she's doing. I think she's employing these French scientists, to devise the ultimate bioweapon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way of having soldiers that you herd them like cattle into a cattle truck. You ram your enemy's gate with it, plow down the gate. You release the ramp to the truck, and let them go to town.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pull away, and you essentially you just killed your enemy. And you didn't risk any of your people to do it, and you didn't waste any resources to do it. You didn't have to fire bullets. You didn't have to risk getting bit. Like, there's no risk. I think that's exactly what she's doing, and I think that's very realistic. I think that is something that people with nefarious intentions in the apocalypse would try to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the science because I'm not a scientist, but
yeah, right. So Linda's talking about the walk, that France is not small, and she was saying something. When they were at Saint Mont Michel, or however it's pronounced, that's where he walked from for 2 days. All he had to do to get to that boat was a 2-day walk to get to that boat that would take him to Le Havre port, or whatever that port was called. The walking, like from south of France to Paris, that took them a long time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think they ever said how long that took, but when he was at the nest, the man told him, I'm positive, he said, that the boat would be there in 2 days. And then so Daryl said, so when do I need to leave? He said the next morning. So he only had a 2-day walk for just for that. But the south of France to Paris, yes, that was a quite the haul, but they never said how long that took. So I know, but yeah, because France is big. It's not a small country. So, but anyway, that I just wanted to say that to clarify if she didn't quite understand that part of it. But yeah, because they weren't in Paris when he started walking. They were at Mont Saint Michel.
Wow, is that true, Linda? That it would have taken from south of France to Paris, it would have taken a month or more
to walk. I think, yeah.
Holy I mean, shit, that's crazy though.
Yeah, because Paris is like up. Yeah, if you look on the map, yeah, it was because I can't remember.
Now you got me curious.
I know I'm looking at a map right now because I'm like, okay, this is here, this is here, yeah. Because I mean, even to Paris to the Mont Saint Michel, I mean, that's that's not,
I'm actually on Google Maps right now.
Me too. So now we're doing our research, Linda. Thanks for. So, I mean, just from Paris to
Mont Saint Michel, right?
Yeah. So just from there to walk it, it's 71 hours just from there.
Holy shit.
And then from Paris to like Marseille is like, wait, nope, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go my thing's messed up. I want that first. So here to here. Yeah, so that walk. So I don't know where he was exactly in the south of France, but from the south of France to now I don't want to go to Paris.
Hey, Pi, it's all for the drama, okay? It's all for dramatic effect, all right?
Yeah, so from the south of France just to Paris is 172 hours of walking.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, and that's in normal day and not apocalyptic time. So yeah, that trip was very long.
That's insane.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, and they didn't tell us how long that took. I mean, they made it seem pretty quick, but they only had 6 episodes, so they had to rush it along. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, they've been traveling quite some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we see after he goes to the cemetery, then he's fighting these walkers down the bank to the beach, and then he hears Laurent, and the thing that cracked me up was that Laurent was so happy, the look on his face, he's like, Daryl, like he's so proud of himself.
Yeah.
Like, I used the skills you taught me, and
Daryl's like, oh, shit. Fuck, how'd you find me? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So yeah.
I love that. I love that Linda's like our residential French expert. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, the river thing, I wondered about that, Linda. So that she was saying that was false to find the river, and I don't know what they were trying to do there, because I looked on a map too and wondered what that meant. But he wouldn't lie, because I mean he was one of their allies he was like one of the main guys for the Union of Hope. So I can't see him lying on purpose.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But he's gone now, so it doesn't matter. So right. But so overall I thought the season was outstanding. I thought it was just really well done, and I know there are a lot of things that like even Linda had pointed out to us that we as Americans wouldn't have understood if had someone not explained it to us, that, or even really probably even noticed it, just because you're watching and you're following along pretty well. But there's a lot of things that we wouldn't have known had not someone explained it to us. But
absolutely.
But yeah, I think episode 5 was my favorite, so I'm excited for you to watch that and see what you think of it, because that was absolutely my favorite one.
Absolutely.
But the finale was outstanding as well. So I mean, I don't. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, I was just reading what she said. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I get so she's just talking about how illogical a lot of the stuff is, because I mean, this is her country and she knows what, how far things are and things like that. So I totally get that.
I think they probably had to condense it down to make their timeline make sense.
Yeah.
Like if Daryl was walking for a month, it would have been a lot of filler, or it would have been Daryl started at point A Now, fast forward a month, and we just missed a month of what happened along the road, and now he's
Yeah.
at point B. You know, like I think that's probably why that was done.
Mhm.
And I think that that was done a lot in The Walking Dead as well. I think that they were all over the place. They were in Alexandria, which is in Virginia, right? Then they were in like all these different places in Georgia, and it just like Virginia and Georgia are not like it's not a short walk, and the cars weren't readily available. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think they kind of fudged. I think that's a running thing for them is that to make their timelines make sense, they make things seem closer than they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Which we've talked about many times, like the Riverside giant 2-story, 3-story building that just
Yeah.
popped up in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And
Like,
just
where's
like
that been this whole time?
right? And just like the fact that they had these communities that were in Georgia, and they had Alexandria, and they had this and that, and all these times that they traversed in between these communities and stuff, they never ran into the CRM.
Yeah.
Yet they're so steeped in the United States, like they're all over the place, and they never ran into this paramilitary group like that. That threw me off. you know.
Yeah, that happened in so Fear the Walking Dead, they started filming it in Savannah. They went from Texas to Savannah.
Yep.
So they started filming there. And then in this first part of season 7, like everyone's just going up to King County where they originally started. You're like, everybody's just getting there like super quick. I'm like, do you guys know how far that is from Savannah? We don't even know for sure where they're settled, but it's somewhere on the coast or whatever. But yeah, it's just anyway, it's just crazy how everyone was just able to go to King County, and that's it's a fictional county, so it's up like north of Atlanta, just a little bit. It's not very far from Atlanta, but anyway, it was just funny how but again, like you said, it's just because of time and to fit the timeline and stuff. So
no, I agree with you. I think that that's where it started. I think that they have done this from the beginning, is they fudge these timelines and make things seem closer than they actually are, to make it make sense. Because imagine how long a season would be of Fear the Walking Dead if they went from Texas to Savannah, Georgia. That's a long walk. That would be probably a month or way more of just straight walking, and that's all stuff that they have to fill in, or they skip it all, and we just have to assume that nothing eventful happened in that 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles, however far it is, that nothing happened miraculously.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they have to do stuff like that. Excuse me. So again, I haven't watched any of Fear the Walking Dead. The last Fear the Walking Dead I watched was when we were in our hotel room at the camp. And I watched a random episode at Padre. But you've obviously watched all the episodes because you have to. This is a burning question that I have, but do you think that Fear the Walking Dead is going to end by bringing it full circle and connecting it back to Walking Dead?
I don't think so. I hope not. I just feel like it just needs to end its own thing, and it's, so like the first half of season 7, we never saw Strand, Luciana. I'm trying to think who all, like, we didn't see a whole bunch of people, it's like, what the heck, where are all these people, and so, it's, but coming in, like, if this isn't like a spoil, well, the first episode, the mid-season premiere has already aired. So then and that showed that Strand returned, but now he's called Anton. He's been living a new life, trying to make a new life for himself, that kind of thing. But also that Troy came back, which everybody was, and I too was very vocal about how absurd it sounded and things like that. But I shared with you in the pre-show, the addition to him, like, adding him back into the story, they explain it very well, like, it's just, he didn't die from those blows, which if it was hit right, I could, little stretch there in an apocalypse, you don't have any people care, but at the same time, I suppose, and so I honestly think adding him is a good thing, because so far he's done a great job. And Daniel Sharman, he's a Sharman, he's a very good actor. He does a great job in things I've seen him in besides Fear. And I loved him as Troy in season 3. I thought he was he was just a pain in the butt, and he was just always, he was just good at it. You know what I mean? So I like how they've introduced him. I like how they've, brought this kind of back to the early season with this, with him coming back and things. And, so I don't know, like I said, I watched the first 2 episodes of the second half of the season, and I think that it was just very well done, and very, good that they added him in, because, so Morgan, for those that have not watched the first part, season 7, Morgan is done. He went back to King County. He made peace with his wife and son. He, took care of all that, where they had died and everything, and took care of that. But then in the meantime, he lost Grace. So Grace was his new love interest, and they adopted this little girl. And so at the end, they were burying Grace. Actually, they went back to Eastman, where he met Eastman, the guy. Yeah. He went back there, and that's where they buried
the guy
Grace.
with the stick.
Yep. And so but then he told his daughter Mo that they were going to go off looking for his friend Rick Grimes. So everybody assumes there's going to be a reunion, but if you read everything that Lenny James has said, he said Morgan's done unless something phenomenal comes along, which very well could, but I don't think we'll see a Morgan and Rick reunion like everybody hopes. And I kind of hope not. I like just to think that, I don't know, because he doesn't have any clue what's gone on. He's going to head back to Alexandria, and he's not going to be there.
I think probably the only way that I would find acceptable, that would make sense for the stories, for the storylines that Rick and Morgan have been on, and especially after reading what Lenny had said. At the end of Rick and Michonne, if something tragic happens to Morgan, like he gets bit, and there's no way for him to cut off a limb, like let's say he gets bit on the neck or something, and he wants to make peace with Rick before he dies and say I told you I'd come home, or I told you I told you I'd meet up with you again, something like that. I think that would be emotional, and but it would also ruin the happy ending that Morgan has seemed to have gotten. From Fear the Walking Dead. And so I kind of don't want that to happen. Yeah. But it would have to be something spectacular and emotional like that for it to happen, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, so Morgan's gone. Of course, Madison's back, which, I'm very indifferent to Madison. I've never hated her. I've never really liked her. I've just been like, well, there she is. Oh, she's gone. Okay.
She exists. Okay.
Yeah. And then when they were all so excited about bringing her back, I asked on Twitter, I'm like, guys, I'm not trying to be negative, or I'm not trying to say I don't like Madison, but why are you so excited for her return? And people had great ideas, they had great, things, and everybody always has their favorite and that kind of thing. And so, so then anyway, we see, in the first episode of the midseason premiere, the final midseason premiere, Fear the Walking Dead, Madison comes into this community, and they bring her in, and sees Victor and says, Victor, and he's like, no, I'm Anton. And he plays this whole thing out like he's not Victor Strand. She's like, yes, you are. And they're, because he's got a new love interest. He's got there's a son there that, I don't know if it was I seriously can't remember the names, Frank, and I know they're German. I think they're German. But anyway, so he has a new love interest who has a son, and so that he calls this kid his son, of course, and everything. And that, so he's got this nice little life, reestablished for himself, trying to make him, amends for all the bad he's done or whatever. Yep. And so anyway, so he Madison, I'm trying to remember, because I'm trying not to say something about the next episode. So I know no one on the chat right now, but if somebody listens later, I don't want to give away a spoiler. So they get captured by this guy who's looking for Madison, brings him into this hotel, and it has all the people there, and in a lobby, and in walks Troy. So he's like, hello, Madison, and she's like, Troy. I mean, they're like, what?
Yeah.
Back from the dead, literally, so but like I said, they did it very well. I honestly, I liked how they did it, and he kind of explains to everybody in the room, he's like, yeah, this is not Anton, this is Victor Strand, blah blah blah, I know this man, this blah blah, and all this stuff. And and they fight and they all this stuff, but yeah, so overall, I mean, they're, I need to rewatch it because obviously I'm not remembering all of it, but it's just one of those things where I feel like I don't know what's going to happen. I know his main purpose in the first episode, Troy, is to find out where Padre's at. So like at the end of season, at the mid-season finale, we see somebody, you see, all you see is like from here down, this person like packing a bag. They're listening to Madison. She's on the radio giving out coordinates to where she's at, which that other part confused me too, because she gave the coordinates, but yet he's still looking for Padre. But I thought that's the coordinates she gave. So that part I was a little confused on.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'll all make sense. So, but as he's packing this bag, he's got these familiar items. He's got a map, and they show the map, and it's like all where they've been, like where the Fear of the Walking Dead has gone. It's like someone's following this path, So they put that map in a bag. They have like Strand's aviator sunglasses go in the bag, or maybe puts those on, or whatever. There was something, a hammer. So it's like, is that the hammer or whatever?
Yeah.
It's then he also has Alicia's prosthetic arm. So Alicia had to cut her arm off because she got bit.
Yeah.
So but she took her bones from her arm and made this prosthetic arm to wear. And so he has that arm. That's
freaky.
Yeah. So that was, everybody's like, she's dead, and all this stuff. So, because at the end of when we last saw Alicia, she wasn't dead. She was starting to actually feel better she thought the walker bite was just slow. It was stupid, but whatever. But she started feeling better by the end of that season, So by her last episode, she started to feel better. But then she went off on her own, So we don't know what's happened to Alicia for sure. But the fact that he has the arm kind of makes a little sketchy. And then Linda just asked, is Padre gone or what? So Padre, as it was, is the leaders are dead. Yeah. So they like those people are dead. And so now what it is Madison's trying to redeem herself for abducting all those children and bringing them there. So she's willing. There are files at Padre with like who their parents are. So they gave them all different names, like not their given names. So they have like a file on Ren, which is Morgan's daughter Mo, and like who her parents are, and that. So
they name all the kids after birds, right?
Yeah, they were all bird names. Everybody, everybody had a bird name, and so so the actual like what Padre was like abducting these children and trying to raise them and do all this. Those people are all dead, but Padre has a lot of resources because they've been stockpiling these. Because initially, before these people took over and distorted it, it was established by the U.S. government as a safe haven, as a for the end of the world kind of thing, with supplies and all this stuff to rebuild and to, with plans and how to do this and supplies to do it and all that. So they twisted it, used it because of course it had all the resources. So that's why Troy is interested, because it has all these resources and he knows that. So, so it's what it was is gone to answer Linda's question, but Madison's trying to remake it into something better. So that's where we're at this point. So she's, but so, and then the cool thing about the first episode also, Denai Garcia, who is Luciana, she directed it. So that was her first Walking Dead universe directed. I think she's directed some smaller things, but that was like her first thing. So that was really cool. Yeah. So, Linda said she heard me say Troy. Yeah, he's in the second half. So you need to catch up, Linda, because it's interesting how they do all this. But so I've liked it so far. I mean, but the thing is, I really liked the first episode of the season too, the first two, I think, and then it kind of digressed from there. So I'm hoping that things just keep going up till the end. And I mean, I hope they do have a good. Because my thing, and we've said this probably every time we've talked about Fear, they've got such great actors. They're just not utilizing their potential. You know what I mean? Like, I always feel bad saying anything bad about Fear because I'm not talking about the actors. Those guys they've got stellar people doing, it's just somewhere else in the, whether writing or direction or whatever it is, it's just not up to their abilities, I guess, is what,
No, I agree. I think that I think a lot of it comes down to the writing. I really do.
Mhm.
I think I think that's where they just fall apart, and I I appreciate that everybody has different opinions. I just personally don't see how people are drawn into Fear the Walking Dead. I mean, when I was watching the episode that I was watching in the hotel room, the weekend of the camp, I was struggling to stay awake while watching it. Like, I've never had that happen with Walking Dead, with the Walking Dead or any of the spinoffs. But I'm sitting there, and I wasn't even tired. It was just like I was sitting there like this on the couch, and I'm just like, I mean, granted, I was confused because I didn't know about
Yeah,
what was going on, but Chris was filling me in on a lot of this, and I'm just like, so I understood the concepts of what was happening, but I'm just like, I'm like zoning out, and I'm like
Yeah.
falling asleep. But
yeah.
yeah.
So we'll see. I have high hopes for, they haven't given it. I don't know what they usually AMC gives us all the screeners by now, and then we haven't gotten them, or I haven't. I don't know if I missed the email or I don't know. But for the rest of the season, I don't know, the last 4 episodes, but sometimes, we'll see what they do. I don't know, but yeah. So like I said, I'll keep watching, and I'll come talk, and everybody can try to figure out what's going on.
Well, I'm gonna do my best to
Yeah.
watch these episodes and at least finish out Fear the Walking Dead. At least that way I can contribute to the podcast a little bit. But I can't make any promises that I'm able to watch the full thing.
Yeah.
Might have to watch a
So
couple
what
of
was
YouTube
the
recaps.
What was the last one you watched? Like consecutively? Like where did you end?
Whatever season was the Radiation.
So probably beginning of 7, probably. Like, did you meet? I'm just trying to place where you are because
I can't remember off the top of my head. If you said some names, I would definitely I would definitely be like,
so,
oh yeah.
There, I'm trying to think. Did you see Strand's Tower?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so you probably saw the first part of 7.
Mm-hmm.
So but you didn't see like when Alicia left, and you didn't see when Madison came back. Okay, so I bet you're on the tail end. I bet you need to watch the back half of 7.
Okay.
So 7B, so I don't remember how that probably had 12 episodes. I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah. But Linda, Daniel is absolutely one of my favorites. And so he actually was struggling with some memory and his mind and things. And so it was like, oh, does he have like Alzheimer's or something like that? But he's back now, and he seems to have no effects from that now. Like he got better, which is great. So I don't know what that was, but he's doing pretty good here in this first episode back. So I was glad to see, because I love him. I think he's awesome. He's so cool. So we'll get back. We'll come back, and maybe Ryan can watch a couple episodes and
absolutely
see what's what. But
definitely.
So there's 5 episodes left. Sunday the next one will air, and it's I can't remember what it's called now. I can't remember, but
I did give up on Fear. I apologize, but I did a while ago.
I think Chris pretty much did too, but he just he'll watch if he's going to be on the podcast,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He's
a good boy. He does his homework.
Yeah. So but so that's where we're at with Fear for the first episode. I don't think I spoiled anything for the second episode. I tried to stay away. I'm like, okay, that was to remember, because it actually second episode had a couple surprising moments in it. So good, good things. So
So I will do my best to watch it for next week, and we'll see if we can reconvene next week for a show and talk about Fear the Walking Dead episode 1 and 2 of this of this segment of the season. But we'll see if we can finish out strong for you guys.
And Pi, if you Fear the Walking Dead seasons 1, 2, and 3 are very good, but from that point it just wasn't so much, I guess, for me anyway.
Linda, I will happily sacrifice my sanity for you guys. I would do that. I would do that 10 times over for you guys. I promise.
And then we'll have to find something to talk about till February when The Ones Who Live starts.
Crazy.
So, I'm so excited. I'm very excited for that.
Oh yeah,
we don't
absolutely.
know a lot about it. I like that they're, and that was I was going to mention that too. So they did finally announce that Jadis is for sure going to be in it. Everybody had seen her and it'd been rumors that she was and all this stuff, and that Terry O'Quinn So you know who he is, the actor
Yes.
Terry. He is going to be Major General Beale.
That's
which
cool.
I'm very excited because Beale is he's a powerful man in the CRM, and he's ruthless. And I mean, he's the one who ordered the bombing of Omaha and the campus college. I mean, he has ordered the bombing of a lot of people, and they were supposed to do Portland, but I think they saved Portland. But, he is a bad man. We never saw him in World Beyond, just heard a lot about it, but Jadis reports to him.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to have her back. And, she's pretty integral to Rick's story. So I think it's only fitting that she's in this. So so it'll be exciting to see.
Plus, I love Pollyanna, so I'm excited to see her.
I know, she's so awesome. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
But she I'm sorry, they haven't given the date yet. They just said in February. So, which is kind of what everybody's speculating, because a lot of times The Walking Dead would start back up in February.
Yeah.
And then I don't know that it'll be that long until we see season 2 of Daryl, because they've been filming that.
For a while.
So they started like a month after they wrapped the first thing. They obviously took a break, but then they got a concession to start back up. So
how are they? So, assuming that with the Carol stuff, right? How are they filming that? Because
she's in France.
So all the filming that's supposed to be in America is being filmed in France?
Yeah, because they the showrunner was saying how the French had to try to like recreate, make it look American, and stuff.
Okay, because I was I feel like SAG-AFTRA might not be okay with that.
Yeah.
If they, you know what I mean? Because I feel like that would go against.
Well, they got a concession. No, they got a concession. Yeah,
did they really?
They made it. AMC made a deal for The Ones Who Live, Daryl Dixon, and then the Anne Rice Interview with the Vampire. They got
I didn't know that. Okay.
Exception. Yeah.
Oh,
so
cool.
So the Daryl Dixon series has started filming. The Ones Who Live that was filmed, but there was some like post-production, like voiceover stuff that had to be done that they couldn't do. So that was why that was on hold, but they got that and they made a deal with them for, and I basically think that when they make these deals, they're coming up to the standards that the actors are asking for. I think the writers who are, that kind of stuff.
So slowly they're getting to the point of the strike to begin with, which is I guess good,
they're
right?
they're saying, okay, we'll pay these people, we'll do whatever the asks were. I think that they're coming to those and saying, okay, we'll do this, so that's how that'll be able to come back in February. And then like I said, I don't know how, like, it shouldn't be terribly long until we see Daryl. Like Dead City, I have no idea, because I don't think they've gotten anything for them, and I don't know how much, and they could have written a lot of that already, which now they can start writing again, but they can't film anything yet for that, unless AMC gets a deal for Dead City then too. We'll see what happens. No. But I think we'll see season 2 of Daryl before we're going to see Dead City.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But just because they were able to do all that, they started filming right away. They started filming. I don't know that it was like a month after they were already posting on Instagram that they were filming again. Because Norman took a vacation to Costa Rica and then he was back in France.
That's crazy.
So yeah.
And I know, Pi, I fully support the strike. I truly do.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not like we're not saying anything bad. We're just saying that, like, at this point, AMC is saying, okay, we'll do it for these productions. We're doing, this, and it's different in France too. Their pay, and Linda would be able to speak to that. But, the work situation is very different in France than it is in America anyway. So, so anyway, it's exciting to see that some of these are still going, and Gimple has said many times, if these do well, they've got more on the back burner waiting. It's just like they can't pull the trigger yet, but they do have other stuff. But I don't know if it was at New York Comic Con or where this was said, and I never did research it. I saw some tweets about it and things like that, but they've said something about kind of a coming back kind of thing, and I'm like, why? Why didn't you just keep doing The Walking Dead then, if you're just gonna bring everyone back together? I don't like that, because my thought is with that is it's never going to be what people expect it to be. They want it to be the original Walking Dead. You're never ever going to have that feel of Rick walking down with his gas can, finding the teddy. You're just not ever going to capture that again. I think everybody's nostalgic for that. I get it.
I understand it, but you're not getting it.
Yeah, I watched today is the anniversary of Four Walls and a Roof, and that's one of my favorite episodes. And I watched it, and just hearing Rick's voice telling him, we're gonna shoot you because we weren't gonna waste the bullets, and they do a promise and tainted meat, and I mean just all of it. I was like, man, I missed this.
Right.
I mean, it's a fantastic episode. I love that episode. But yeah, so I feel like if they bring everything back around, it's just not going to meet anyone's expectations for number one. But why did you do all these spinoffs if you're going to bring it all back around? I don't understand that.
It almost renders them pointless.
Yeah. Like why? Yeah, why don't? Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what they do. They could surprise us and do something great. I don't know, but
who knows?
But yeah. So
I think that's all we got.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. So we appreciate you guys hanging in with us, and
absolutely. And I tentatively we should be back next week. But as always, Renee, the mastermind she is, will send out the notification that you guys know we're gonna be live. Maybe we can reel Meg and Chris in for a little guest appearance. Maybe I gotta bust her chops. They're not here because for those of you guys that may not know,
I think they mostly know. Yeah.
I think most of you probably know, but Chris and Gabby had the baby.
Yeah.
Baby's healthy and everything. So Chris is obviously doing daddy duty right now, and probably pun intended with the duty part of that. And Meg had to work, so she couldn't be here tonight. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. Other than that, you know what? Thank you for tuning in tonight, guys. Appreciate it. I'm having an episode over here. Don't mind me.
Yeah, but we've been talking for hour and a half now, so it's you're done.
That's a good point. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, so I'm a little.
Go okay. Yeah.
I'm a little loopy. Don't mind me. All right. So
thanks so much.
See you guys next week, hopefully. And yes, Pi, absolutely. Ryan.exe has stopped working 100%. All right, guys. Love you guys. Have a good night.
Right. Love you. Bye.
Hey, Renee, Chris, and Ryan going live. Best podcast, Beauty and the Beast. Sit back and catch a vibe. Oh yeah, we talking zombies and apocalypses and all those things you like. Going beast mode, and if you didn't know, it's Peter Z up on the mic. Hey, TWD family, grab the snacks about the pantry and subscribe and like if you can, please. Or those walkers eat you like some candy. Hey, okay. You at the right place at the right time. No one does it better, that's the bottom line. Beauty and the Beast, this is prime time. Let's go.